still chasing fire through the years half slow. Weights on my back, sweat in my eyes. Old man's fight never says die. Old man on the mat, still standing tall. One more round, yeah, I've heard it all. Grip the edge, don't let it slip. Strength in the soul, strength in the grip.
Hey, Old Man on the Mat crew, this is Tony Jones coming at you with another great episode of Old Man on the Mat. Guys, yes, I'm excited. I know I say it all the time. I'm very excited. But guys, today I'm really fired about the young lady we have on here. We're crossing the border a little bit, talking over in Canada, or up there, right? It's not down, it's up. Canada's up. And this young lady, I'm telling you, she has a huge background. She's a MAC practitioner. She's certified sports nutrition coach, fitness trainer. Man, she's touched on everything dealing with what she's doing in the fitness industry. I found her just, like I normally do. I stalk a lot on social media. I find somebody I think is interested in, I'll watch them. I'll send some of the exercise. I sent some of her exercise to my girlfriend. She loved them. And I thought it was really cool. So, guys, I'm going to jump in. And with that, guys, I give you Dasha Tereshchenko. Did I say that right?
Yes, you did. Perfectly.
Yes.
Honestly, perfect pronunciation. Excellent. 10 out of 10.
Oh, perfect. I didn't tell you I was a black Russian, did I?
There you go. No way. You could pass for it. It works. It works. I love it.
There you go. Well, man, how is it out there in Canada? We talked about the weather a little bit. Now, you hear so many things about Canada. They do things a little bit different than the United States. I don't think so. I think everybody's the same. You got fitness up there. I talked to a guy up there in martial arts here a little bit ago. I think you guys do the same things, right?
Very similar, honestly. It's just the only difference, I think, if we're really getting down to like the nitty gritty, is the healthcare. Like essentially, when it comes down to that, that's like the biggest difference, is that like the amount of things that we kind of have access to here in terms of like on our own will, like for example, for men's health, right?
Yeah.
It's a little bit more of a tougher situation versus like how in the States there's like, TRT clinics everywhere, and like it's a little bit more talked about. But honestly, it's almost the same. Like we go to the gym, we have gyms, we don't live in igloos. We take cars to work. We're not on mooses. So it's almost the same thing. Yeah.
You not living in igloos with mooses.
No, that's for sure. No.
Well, I've never been to Canada, but one of my best friends out there, he goes to Canada all the time. He said, you should come with me. And I'm like, I'm busy. But my only, foray into Canadian lifestyle was the TV show on Netflix. It's Kim's Convenience. And
oh, yes.
I love that show.
Yep. It's a good show. It's honestly, I think it represents Toronto and just like the overall culture there really well. Like it's spot on with that. That's for sure.
That's awesome. Then okay, I got it. Because that's one of my favorite shows. I'll binge that thing all the time. But anyway, so hey, let's jump into this. Tell me your story. Let's hear your story, because I know you have an interesting story, especially with dealing with anorexia for 12 years. We talked on that a little bit before we came on. But man, you've done so much, and to see what you've come through in your body and the things that you put in and what you're giving out to the people. So let's hear your story. What do you have?
Yeah, no, honestly, my fitness journey in general, it started from like a very, very young age. From the ages of like 6 to 8, I was in competitive ballet. Like we came to Canada basically in 1999, Eastern European, Ukrainian, Russian background. So my mom was like, dance, like ballet is a big thing for us. So I was in ballet for like my childhood. But unfortunately, I was never really like the skinny ballerina. I was like a healthy child. I was a little bit chubbier. But that got me places that necessarily wasn't, I guess, the best for my mental health in a way, because I always get injured, and being a little bit more overweight, like always spraining your ankle and stuff like that, always difficult to recover from. And then it took just one visit to my doctor when I had a lateral ligament tear. It wasn't healing, so I couldn't participate in one of my dance competitions. And my doctor told me, he's like, well, you're not the thinnest thing I've seen. And when he said that to me, I was around like 10 years old. And for some reason that like stuck in my head, like echoed, for every single time I went to go eat food, it was like, I'm like, oh, I'm not like, not the smallest person out there. So maybe I shouldn't eat that. Right. And that just triggered this like cascade of like really bad relationship with food into like complete like eating disorder status of when I was severely anorexic. I was around 150 pounds when I was a child, and I lost all that weight down to my lowest was 87 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
So I was hospitalized. Yeah, it was severe. So I was hospitalized, and that ran through from like the ages of 10 till like I got much better around the 15 mark when I was 15 years old, but then it again started back up to until I was 20 almost.
Wow.
So I used every tool in my toolbox to try to lose weight. Like I did the crazy cardio, like I just didn't eat food at all. And you know, my poor parents were going crazy trying to like educate me on proper food and all these things. And my mom has an education in the health industry, so she was trying her best to like make sure I'm making good choices and like, you know, encouraging the weight loss, but not to the extent that I was taking it, right? So it just went to show me that like one area of this whole fitness thing can be so toxic in a way that if you go into the extreme end of just complete phobia, which is what I did, it can essentially ruin your life. So that's kind of, I don't want to say it ruined my life, but it really left a big impact on my teenage years all the way up into my young adulthood, right? So thank God, like I recovered from it, and the only reason why I actually recovered from it is because my mom brought me to a YMCA here that we have in one of our cities, and she was like a last resort thing. She's like, doctors weren't helping me, like they were just basically saying I'm crazy, like, you know, she just needs medication and all that stuff. So she reached out to one of the trainers there, and he was a physical therapist and he was a trainer, and she's like, okay, I want to teach her how to do this properly. Like I don't want her struggling anymore with this, and I think it's because of that trainer that my entire premise for my career was set up, because he took the time with me, like to teach me why food is important, like why we need to eat carbohydrates for energy, like for why working out is not a punishment. It's rather, it's for your health. It's for enjoyment. So he spent hours. And when I say hours, I mean like my mom would pay for like 30-minute sessions, and this man would sit with me for like 2 hours after.
Wow.
Right? Like,
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. It was a personal trainer. So I think I owe a lot of that to him, because he took that time, those months, and because of him, I got a very fascinating interest in health and fitness. I'm like, wow, like look at how this basically saved me. Like I was going down the wrong route. And we usually, when we hear fitness, we think about people being extremely overweight or like having severe health problems, and fitness saves them. But I come from the opposite spectrum where I was already doing the extreme things, and fitness literally saved me. So from all of that, essentially, I ended up studying, like, you know, all of this physical therapy stuff. I went to school. First, I went to school for a university for business, realized that that's not my jam. And then I completely switched gears when I went into physical therapy and doing the muscle activation. And then from there on out, I made myself a promise that I saw how many of my clients just in the PT realm struggled with food. And I'm like, I think the biggest thing that is missing from people's lives is proper education and nutrition. And that's where I took the whole route of studying, you know, sports nutrition, and now I'm in school for naturopathy. So essentially my entire story is because of what I went through. I don't want others to ever experience it again. Therefore, I made it like, I guess you can say, my life's mission to make sure that I'm providing the best service possible for people who are relying on me to maybe be the mentor that I never had when I was a child for someone else. Right? So,
Man.
yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, but man, you think about it, because that's, but like you said a second ago, you know, the different spectrums. You know, you were already doing everything, but you just went the other way, taking it too far, and that's just insane, man. That's pretty cool how your mindset switched to, you know, let me try to get help with. Well, you had help from the personal trainer.
Personal trainer, yeah.
Wow.
It was honestly, it was months, I think, of him just like, I don't want to say brainwashing, but like getting me to really understand like why like what I'm doing is terrible for me, first of all. And second of all, there is a light at the end of the tunnel if you just do these things correctly, and you're going to benefit from it in the long run. Like, you know, you're not going to gain bad weight. Like food is not going to make you fat, and all these crazy theories I had in my head that fortunately, again, this becomes very, very toxic. But yeah, he was definitely like a God sent angel, I swear. Like
that's so good.
Very big reason.
That is so good, because, you know, I say this all the time. I talk to people all these different fad diets they're on, you know, especially training martial arts or training just in anything. I guess lifting weight, anything you're doing, you're trying to eat the right stuff, give you the right amount of energy, when to walk on the mat, when to do all this stuff. Yeah. And then you hear it's just so food is such a drug, though. It really is. I think it's worse. I've never been a heroin addict or an alcoholic, but I think food, it can be worse than that, you know. It's like, man. Now, let me ask you this, because I've known people in my past that has struggled with anorexia, and I always wondered, the question is, what do you see when you look in the mirror? When you see someone going through that? You know, because you outside, I was looking at these people like, what do you mean you're fat? You look great. What are you talking about? You're chiseled. You're this. What do you see?
You know what? It's like the mirror's playing tricks on you. And this
Yeah.
is like actually it's a funny question because that's one of the things that I know my dad struggled with because he couldn't fathom the idea that every time I looked at myself in the mirror and I'm like pinching my skin and I'm like, look, this
Yeah.
is fat. He's like, it's your skin, it's not fat. He's like,
Yeah.
Dasha, like you're going crazy. So you literally see yourself, but like you're huge.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like and again, a lot of it comes down to like if you look at the science of it, it's because you're so malnourished that like you're almost borderline like hallucinating when you see yourself. But
Oh,
a lot of it also too is like an internalized self-confidence issue that a lot of psychologists are saying is that you don't see your worth, and
okay.
therefore when you look at yourself in the mirror, you literally your brain subconsciously convinces itself that there is a problem and the problem is your body, right? Or
Wow.
sometimes people have that with like, for example, people who are addicted to like plastic surgery, like when they look at
Yeah.
themselves in the mirror, they're like, I'm never pretty enough, and they
Yeah.
convince themselves that they are not XYZ, and the mirror is like a direct reflection of that. They say the mirror is like the reflection of the soul, and
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
kind of a
Yeah.
similar concept, right? Like you
Yeah.
see the things you think. So if you think all these horrible negative things about yourself, that's what you're going to see right back at you looking in the mirror. So
Yeah.
that's literally like what we see is like obese person and you're like 100 pounds. It's absurd.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that makes sense. Because I would talk to someone, they would say they're just no, these jeans are too tight. And I'm thinking they're falling off you. What are you talking about? My
Yep.
gosh.
Yep.
Now, when you
Yeah,
deal
very
with
common.
dealing with I always believe that young women. Yeah, I'm not gonna knock young women, but in that age of being from the teenage, the preteen, and teenage, they could be cruel. Did that affect a lot of that too as you're trying to go through that?
100%, yeah. And again, growing up in like the community that I grew up in, it was a smaller town, and like
Mm.
again, the era was like it was still kind of like the America's Next Top Model vibe. Like everybody was like
Mm-hmm.
skinny and thin, and then if you were like one of the luckier girls that was like very thin, you didn't you were one of the cool girls. You fit in with the crowd, like the fashion trends and everything kind of worked with you, but. If you were on the opposite end, bullying for sure is a thing. Like
Yeah.
the mean girl effect is real. Like there
Yeah.
are, cliques and girls that won't hang out with you because like you can't wear a certain outfit or you wear an outfit
Mm-hmm.
and you look funny in it. So I
Yeah.
do think like part of that was there, especially in my dance studio where all the girls were like stick thin,
Wow.
right? There was
Yeah.
maybe like a handful of us that were just a healthier, plumper size, but
Yeah.
majority of the girls like they were very thin. And then you go to these dance competitions, right? And the outfits as well. Like when
Yeah.
you're a child, you're wearing a very tight, skin tight, like
Oh yeah.
spandex
Absolutely.
outfit.
Yeah.
Majority of the girls look a certain way, and then there's you got a little bit of a spare tire, and like you're wearing this tutu, so
But you're a
it's
little kid. It's like, you know what I
yeah,
mean? Oh
and
wow.
it's normal, right? For like us as adults looking at that, we're like, that's a healthy child, it's a normal child, but when
Yeah.
you are that child and society has such, I don't want to say standards, but such like structural pressures on you, you
Yeah.
don't realize how easily you get engulfed in it. So yeah, I definitely do think my environment had quite a bit to do with it too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Woof, girl. I don't, I always say the thing about high school. I had a great time in high school, but I wouldn't want to go back, Wouldn't want to
Yeah,
go
no.
back. Oh my gosh.
It's problems over nothing. You think back to it, those were not problems back then. It was just terrible.
My life is over. This is the final,
Every day.
final, and my life is gone.
That's it. Yeah, 100%.
Now, but did you give some advice to parents out there who maybe listen to this and they have a teenager, a girl teenager thinking they may, things to look for. How about that? Things to look for that they may be going through that that she may be hiding from them, that kind of thing to help them battle this thing.
I think the number one thing for me, and this is funny actually too, because we've discussed this with my family before, was seeing my rate of isolation. So when I was a very social child, like I was always hyper,
Yeah.
like, I was always active. When I started to become very like timid, like quiet, like not really wanting to participate in family outings specifically around food.
Oh,
So for
okay.
example, we used to have like family Friday nights when we'd have specific meals, like we'd have pizza or something. We would
Yeah.
order because everybody worked late. And my mom said that she didn't notice that I slowly started to be like, oh, like my stomach hurts, like I don't really want to eat, like I'm not really feeling well, or
Yeah.
no, I'm not gonna have this. I already ate, I'm gonna just go and sleep, or I ate at school. So that pattern was like consistently going over and over, and it was one of those things that I know my family says that they regret not catching earlier because my mom's like, maybe we should take you to the doctor if your stomach hurt,
Yeah.
but they're kind of like, oh, like she probably ate at school because
Yeah.
teenagers,
Yeah.
we buy stuff at school.
Yep.
Sometimes
Yep.
they'll eat a greasy French fry and you don't feel well, so
Yep.
they really did brush that part off. And then the second part was I started to get very isolated from my social circle.
Yeah.
So I didn't really want to hang out with my friends that much.
Okay.
I kind of sort of started like being a little bit more isolated from everyone. So
Oh,
I think if you're noticing your child is just maybe not as like, active with friends anymore, or like not maybe socializing or not wanting to go to sleepovers or whatever the
yeah.
usual things they used to do, if they start acting different in that sense, it could be obviously anything. It could be even bullying. But
Okay.
one of the things specifically with females is if it's anything associated with food, food
Mm,
outings is the biggest thing that I think personally, and from my experience, is what people start to withdraw from.
okay.
And then obviously like physical signs, like low energy,
Hmm.
like clearly seeing the child losing weight. That's not like clinical, right? There's nothing actually like wrong with them from a doctor's perspective. They're
Yeah.
just literally not eating enough, things like that. And then another thing that I didn't mention is a lot of the times with the anorexia, bulimia is paired with it.
Mm,
So they're
okay.
like sister diseases, right?
Okay.
Unfortunately, because anorexics go through this cycle of like sometimes they cave into their hunger, they'll binge, and
Okay.
then they'll
Yeah.
purge. They'll end up purging, right?
Yeah.
So some things too that you could probably see is if a person's purging a lot, like they're gonna have a bit more of like a swollen throat,
Okay.
maybe like some capillaries around the eyes that are popped. So it looks like
Okay.
somebody was crying a lot, but it's really from like throwing up a lot, right? So that's
Oh,
another thing to
wow.
look out for.
You
Yeah, it's
know,
some
yeah.
crazy things that the body like the person starts to exude, that parents really don't pay attention to, right? But again, like I
Yeah.
said, if it was for me, my top three would be isolating away from social events with food, isolating just in general from friends and not going
Yeah.
to same participation events like maybe they're sporting, and then just physical appearances of weight loss or something
Okay.
like trauma or something going on for
Yeah, I
sure.
appreciate you sharing that because that's really good, man. That's really good. And look at I don't want to sound like the old man back in my day, but
Ah,
yeah,
I'm
no,
not, I'm about to be there too. Yeah,
yeah,
listen, I'm
right,
getting there. I'm like back in my times. Jeez.
exactly, man. Because I look at I think back in those days we were a little tougher, and I don't mean mentally, but we
Yeah.
could deal with things more, and there wasn't a lot of help for a lot of stuff. You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
us, like the kids have nowadays. So I look at all these kids nowadays, and I'm seeing these kids with all these mental problems. I'm thinking, man,
Yeah.
where'd all this come from? Oh my gosh!
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
it's just that now they have all the help they can get. With
Yes,
back
there's a
then we
lot
didn't
more
have as much help.
resources
Yeah,
for sure, for sure.
yeah. Now being a nutritionist, now let's switch a little bit because I know
Sure.
you would know all kinds of. You've seen all the diets. You've seen the
Yes.
carnivore, the flavoboard, the board, everything else, everything. Which one? And I don't know. I won't say. I don't know if you could tell me this or not, or you probably can. What would you consider the best one if you had to pick a best one? You know what I
Hmm.
mean?
Yeah, so if I did have to just narrow down on one, which is again extremely difficult to do,
Yeah.
I would probably say anything that's as close to a Mediterranean slash ancestral diet as possible.
Okay.
So the simplistic thing of having healthy fats like mono and polyunsaturated fats, lots of like, good local meats,
Okay.
healthy carbs that are cooked properly, and lots of fruit and veg. The
Okay.
closest thing to that would be the Mediterranean diet, right? Because there's
Okay.
so many just physical studies and like literature backing it, but
Yeah.
also to individuals that do eat like that. They live very long, and B, they have some of the best biomarkers out there, right? So
Okay.
for me, I've always resorted to putting people on more of a Mediterranean style diet,
Okay.
just because, again, number one thing is heart health.
Yeah.
It's the best for heart health, and also too because it has such a high amount of healthy fats, individuals are able to be more satiated and lose weight. So it's a cool
Ah.
diet that you can kind of sort of hit all the boxes in terms of health markers, and
Yeah.
at the same time sustainable for weight loss and improving overall physical conditions. So that would
Okay.
be my choice.
Okay.
Personally, my own diet journey is a little different.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
when it comes to like just overall, if I had to pick one, that would definitely be it for sure. Yeah,
Okay. Okay. Good
most
to know.
definitely.
Because you like I said, you read all this stuff about the carnivores, which I love meat and all that fatty
Yeah.
stuff, and then you get tired of
Yep.
eating that. It's like,
Of
man, I want
course.
something. I want an apple. you know.
Right. Yeah. And that's the thing. It's like it's another thing that I'm personally exploring because with my own like health stuff, as like me and you have briefly chatted before on Instagram, the things that I'm going through, I'm realizing that there is a lot of benefit. And again, it's not necessarily like, controlled trial studies, all this science stuff, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of benefit from like your own experience being like, hey, I feel really good when I eat
Yeah.
these things.
Yeah.
But I feel like absolute trash when I eat like this, even though
Yeah.
science might say like, hey, this is healthy. But
Yeah.
if you just physiologically don't feel good eating those things, I'm always a firm believer of like, let's find a substitute and let's eat what we can that makes you
Right.
feel good, right? So
Right.
carnivore, for example, I'm finding for myself that yeah, eating a higher amount of meat, a
Mhm.
little bit of a different type of vegetable, like a little bit more of like a restricted style of vegetable,
Mhm.
higher fat, and then lots of fruit actually helps my condition, which is
Okay.
again something that maybe science doesn't necessarily back right now, but
Yeah.
it's again, it's very individualistic. Like if you feel like eating some meat sometimes, you should definitely eat some meat. So for sure.
Yeah, okay, I like that. Because I don't listen. I do listen, but I don't listen to science as much as so many
Yeah.
things come out and they're wrong. And I like the natural people.
Yes.
Like you're a naturopathy, so you're doing
Yep.
that. So if it's someone like that, I have a tendency to listen to more because they don't have a huge monetary goal in
Motive.
essence. Yeah, motive.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So now comparing two different styles, I like to talk about these two different people. I really do. The athlete, which you are
Hmm.
athlete, and I would consider myself a couch potato athlete. But anyway, and then we have the person who's not into working out, but they want to start doing these. As a nutrition side, what would you recommend for those two type of people? Say, like, do you have 3 meals a day, 5 meals a day, all that kind of stuff?
Hmm. So definitely, I think for the athletic individual that's an active athlete, they are clearly they would benefit from having a more frequent meal structure just
Yeah.
because their demand is so much higher, right? So
Okay.
with all of our athletes that we have in our coaching business, typically they range between 4 to 5 meals, upwards to six, depending on individual
Okay.
metabolism, right? So
Okay.
the more athletic you are, the more fuel you're going to need, the more you're going to need to recover. So you definitely want to start with a good amount of frequent meals to keep your energy and to keep your recovery up, right?
Okay. Gotcha.
Obviously focusing around a good amount of carbohydrates, especially if you're doing, higher output training, things like powerlifting, even like track and field, any other kind of athlete that requires a lot more fuel,
Okay.
because of the duration of the sport, right? Now, if
Okay.
we're looking at the individual who's just like wanting to get started in fitness, I wouldn't even necessarily worry about how many meals a day. I would focus more on making good quality food choices and developing good overall dietary habits,
Okay.
right? Because from my experience, 9 times out of 10, the person who's never stepped foot in the gym or has no idea where to start with even nutrition,
Yeah.
the best thing to do is just educate on food groups, educate on why we need certain food groups to make us feel better, and then
Okay.
structure it around a way that the person's digestive system can tolerate it. Because
Okay.
if you're going to take somebody who, skips breakfast, lunch, and then they have this huge meal at dinner, if you throw like the typical bodybuilding 6 meals a day at them, they're
Yeah.
going to struggle and their adherence is most likely going to fall off. Like, they're
Yeah.
not going to stick to it, right? So
Gotcha.
for somebody like that, if we could introduce like, even 2 meals a day to start, like let's get you on a good high protein breakfast and then a good, maybe medium sized amount of carbs and protein lunch, and then let's see what we do for dinner if you're even hungry, right?
Okay.
And then as their metabolism gets better, as they start putting on more muscle mass, the caloric demand goes up, and then you can start playing around with more meals, and then essentially that person's considered almost, in my opinion, an athlete,
Okay.
because they're a pretty, they start going to the gym every day, they're
Yeah.
lifting weights, they might take up a sport or like a hobby,
Yeah.
and then their life revolves around fitness, and then they're already eating like an athlete by default, right? So
Okay.
I feel like one merges into the other, and then eventually you end up working with everyone that needs 5, 6 meals a day.
Okay. Yeah. That's probably most of us. We're eating 5, 6 meals a day, but not
Yeah,
that
yeah,
much,
yeah. At this point, pretty much, yeah, definitely.
know?
Yeah.
Well, that's good. That's some good information. I like that. Like, because a lot of times you see some guys who are trying to get into, and I'm speaking for myself, my own thing. I
Yeah.
try to look, when I go to the gym, when I was starting back up going to the gym, I watch all these guys and I would
Hmm.
watch what they were doing exercise wise, and I read all these things, and I'm eating 6 meals today, and I had this and that. And I'm trying to do that, and I'm like, God, I can't put all this. Well, I can't put it down, but I'm putting on weight because I
Yeah.
wasn't as athletic as those guys. So that was
Hmm.
that was a horrible thing. Now, being into, let's say, my situation, and I'm not just trying to get all this free information.
Ah,
Just a little
okay, I
nuggets
got
right
you.
there.
I got you.
Little nuggets is going onto the mat. Like when I go train, it's 11 o'clock class. I go, my normal time is 11 o'clock. So, but I don't like eating a breakfast. So what I would do is, but the gym was like an hour away. So I eat a protein bar or something like that, or probably have a protein shake. But then again, when I'm training, grappling or roll, I feel it in my stomach and I feel like I'm bloated and I can't move well. When and what's the time frame? Or should I eat a breakfast maybe 3 or 4 hours earlier, or what should I do?
Yeah, so for your situation, I would say something maybe like liquid and just one simple macronutrient, right?
Okay.
A lot of the times when I do have clients in your situation, actually quite a few, they can't stomach something before a workout.
Yeah.
We stick to liquid carbohydrates, whether that
Okay.
be fruit juice and a fruit or some kind of grain. Like if you can manage to do maybe even like half a bagel with some jam, something light that's going to
Okay.
digest relatively quickly, least amount of fat, least amount of protein, something that you want to be able to digest on the drive to your gym or within 45
Okay.
minutes, right? There's lots of options. Like you can do again fruit juices. There's even if your stomach can tolerate a carb powder, like the carbohydrate powders, also not a bad choice, right? There's bagels. People sometimes just do fruit. You can do something like even like cream of rice that's really easily digestible. It's fast in and out of your system. It's pretty light on the stomach. So there's a bunch of things that you can take. But for you, I would stick to some kind of liquefied / simple, low fat, low protein carb option. Okay. Because not only is that going to digest, it's not going to be jumping up and down your stomach when you're grappling and wrestling, right? Yeah. And you're not going to feel heavy because it's going to be used for energy rather quickly, right? Okay. So I would go that way with you for sure.
All right, perfect. I appreciate that. That's good stuff. Yeah, now another nugget. How do I get better at jiu-jitsu? No, I'm just joking.
You know what? If it's with food and any kind of physical therapy, I can help you. Sure. That's right. No problem.
You can't help me from sucking in jiu-jitsu. Damn it.
I wish I could. I wish I was jack of all trades, honestly.
Right. Now, how did you go from you were ex bodybuilder, physique builder, right? And you went from to an endurance athlete. How did you go from that range? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, you know what, that journey too was another, like, I feel like I had like many different like transitional periods in my life, and this was, I want to say, the second one. So I call my bodybuilding era like the self-validity / desperation era into this whole new basically transition into this endurance athlete training for a bigger purpose, I call it. Yeah. Because I'm, again, like a lot of people in their life, I'm still searching for my purpose. And again, on a spiritual level, it's like asking a lot of questions to God, like, you know, what am I here for? I got some part of it, but there's still something missing. And with the bodybuilding, I think that was for me a great bridge to prove to myself after my eating disorder that I can do hard things. I can still control my food, I can control my diet, and I can control my training, but I can actually build muscle and I can present this physique. So for me, it was like almost like a butterfly morphing from like this skinny skeleton into like this muscular woman. So for me, that was like a self-worth period. Like I needed to prove to myself that I could do this. Yeah. Then it came along to a certain point where I reached 28, and again, a little bit of a backstory with the bodybuilding, and I'm pretty open about this on my social media, is I did a lot of performance enhancing drugs. I don't necessarily regret it, but it was one of those, again, era of desperation, self-worth. I'll do anything for this sport, right? Yeah, yeah. And it was another blow to my health where from 2014 when I started preparing for my first show all the way up to 2019 when I was like officially done with this, I put my body through the ringer. Wow. And abuse with, again, PED abuse, like crazy. It's basically, it was like anorexia 2.0, but with drugs and with more muscle. Wow. Wow. And you can only sustain that for so long, especially being a female. So when COVID hit, I realized that this is like, all the gyms shut down, first of all. There was no way for me to maintain my physique, right? So desperation came in when we had a home gym, and I found myself going crazy trying to create these exercises at home just to maintain the gains. Like I have to keep this muscle. And then something just hit me where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, look at you. Like, this is all you're living for now. Like, it's another obsession. Yeah. And that's when I realized that I do not think bodybuilding for me and my mental health is the best. Okay. But I couldn't give it up. I'm like, what? I can't. I love the gym. The gym literally saved me. So I had this whole personal journey of after COVID into basically the recent years, where I'm like, there's got to be something else I can do that isn't going to necessarily traumatize my health, but still makes me feel like an athlete. Because even though I went through so many things with my eating disorder, I still participated in sports at school. Yeah. I still did long distance running, which was it's where I started everything. It was long distance running. Wow. And then I love the gym. So what can I do? And come along, I see the birth of the hybrid era where everyone's lifting weights and running. And I'm like, that's so cool. You know what? And I'm like, to my philosophy of a human being, you should be able to do all that. So I like that like transition over the years slowly went into just being obsessed with self-imagery to, you know what? The goal shouldn't be anymore about having a six-pack and obsessing over your looks. The goal should be to be healthy and to perform as a human being. Yeah. And guess what? With that comes health and comes a good physique. Yeah. So it was almost as if like a personal journey in terms of like, I wasn't just bored with bodybuilding. I wasn't like, I'm over it. It was more so like, no, girl, like this is starting to become really unhealthy and you're starting to do really unhealthy things. Yeah. Let's not do that anymore, and let's start to approach it in a lifestyle. It
Okay.
also helps that I met my husband, and I'm
Yeah.
like, I want to live a long life. I want to have children, so
Yeah.
I don't want to be taking steroids anymore. I want to be a healthy woman, right?
Good,
So it
good.
kind of all kind of merged from that into this
Yeah.
essentially what it is today. Yeah.
Wow. It's been a healthy person. It was an easy transition, but was it really an easy transition? You mean both physically and mentally, or just natural walk right into it?
You know what? The fact that like the only easy part for me, I think, was the running because my
Okay.
cardio was good all the time. So I'm
Yeah.
like, oh, that's easy. I can run, I can cycle for hours. The body transition, like the actual body image transition, was difficult.
Yeah.
Because same thing, I went through periods of highs and lows. I went from being like 9%, like maybe 10% body fat shredded,
Yeah.
like always juicy, jacked, and
Yeah.
pumped up, always feeling my best.
Yeah.
To like, well, now we're not going to be hitting biceps and triceps 3 times a week or 2 times a week. We're going to be doing things like isometrics. We're going to be doing
Oh,
things like plyometrics. And I'm like, what am I doing? I'm like, I'm not going to look the same. This is so gross. Like, I'm going to lose all my muscle. So then periods of like, this is fantastic. I feel great. I look great.
Yeah.
So it was not, definitely was not a linear positive progression. It
Okay.
was still very rocky.
Yeah.
But I want to say this year is the first year, and my husband can attest to this. This is the first year where I'm actually truly content with what my body looks like.
Awesome.
And being comfortable in my own skin for once
Praise
in my
God.
life. It's
Yeah.
crazy. Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Congratulations. Because so many people take forever to get there. You know what I mean? You found it.
Yeah.
That's good. Praise
Yeah,
God.
for finally,
Yeah,
30
say
years
finally.
later, it's like, hi.
Hey, that's okay. The Bible says we have 120 years to live, so you got plenty of time to enjoy his body now.
Just scratching the surface, literally.
That's right. Now, what were some of the changes that you saw in your body that I say that women can see in their bodies doing PEDs? I know everybody can see things that are bad, but I think women doing those are just, because I look at guys in the gym, we're just meatheads, you know what I mean? But I look at women, I don't think they should be taking those, which I don't know. I'm not in that area, so I don't know.
Yeah.
But how does it change the female's body? Because I know a lot of times I'll hear, like my girlfriend's a lot of times, she don't want to lift a lot of heavy weights because I don't want to get huge like a guy. And I'm like, you are not going to get huge like a guy. You don't have the testosterone. You're not there.
Yeah.
What kind of things you think is harmful for women doing those things?
You know what? I think the biggest thing that I personally have seen and like talking to a lot of other women in the industry that have similar experiences is the toll it takes on your reproductive hormones,
Okay.
which hits your mental health.
Gotcha.
And they don't realize how much of an impact that has when your ovaries start malfunctioning and your estrogen gets tanked.
Yeah.
Oh man, your mental health goes right out the window. Like you start acting like somebody that like you don't even recognize. So I think the biggest thing is number one, female reproductive hormones get shut down, and when women start to experience absence of period, like their menstrual
Yeah.
cycle, all hell breaks loose in terms of your cardiac health, your
Yeah.
heart health, and things like your bone mineral density in your bones goes
Yeah.
down quite a bit. So
Wow.
you're more susceptible to osteoporosis and makes you more prone to injuries. So
Mm.
women who start taking PEDs and they don't cycle them correctly, like unfortunately I didn't,
Yeah.
you start getting very injured.
Okay.
Things like your hair fall out,
Oh, wow.
your teeth get brittle,
Oh, my
your
gosh.
skin gets very dry. And when it comes to like, more of like the libido stuff, they
Yeah.
think that their actual like sex drive goes up.
Yeah.
On the contrary, doing it for too long and too high doses shuts you down. So
Wow.
you create this like whole negative cascade, and it all starts with you shutting down your estrogen production because you put so much exogenous hormone in. Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the number one thing in terms of the internal. And then the external is obviously voice change. So I have a permanent voice change. My voice
Yeah.
is permanently deeper now. I can't do anything about it.
Yeah.
So your voice goes lower and you start growing facial hair.
Really?
Like you literally, yeah, you start like growing like a little chin hair and you're always
Oh,
plucking your
man.
chin. Yeah, so it's not fun. And then you get like arm hair and it's
Oh,
so you become
man.
hairy and you sound kind of funny.
Yeah, you-
And then your mood is a little crazy. That's pretty much, those are the top three things to look out for is your mood going crazy, your hair starts growing, and you start basically sounding like a dude. So yeah,
Sound like a
great.
dude.
It's a great time.
Yeah, this is perfect for me,
Right? Yeah. I love this.
Right. Oh, man. You have such a great story to tell. I tell you, it's going to be so impactful to so many people. Do you have a book out or anything like that you're trying to throw out there?
What's that, sorry?
Are you trying to put a book out or anything? Or
You know what? You're not the first person to tell me. Like, I've got a couple
Hello.
people. Yeah, I've had a couple people tell me, like, you need to write your story. Like, your story's so crazy. And I'm over here thinking, I'm like, it's not that special. They're like, no, like, this is insane. So maybe I will. Maybe we'll see a book coming out maybe in 2027. We'll see. Gotta
I
gotta
hope so.
compile my thoughts somehow. That's great. Yeah, it's
That's
something to
awesome
look forward to. Yeah.
because I think everybody's got a story, and that's why when we started this podcast, and that was the main thing. At first, I started doing it was going to be my journey after my divorce 5-6 years ago, and then I was like,
Okay.
well. There's more better stories than mine, so I wanted to talk to everybody with these great stories, and I'm praise God I did because I'm getting to meet people like yourself with these amazing stories. Because guess what? We all think that my life is horrible. Then you realize there's so many people out there probably going through the same things or worse, or
Oh yeah.
who've conquered those things, and now there's light at the end of the tunnel for other people. Man, that is so cool.
100%. Yeah.
That is cool,
It's
girl. You're on
great.
point. You're on point. But anyway, let me get back to
Thanks.
this. I'm not gonna keep holding you up. Woo, woo,
And
woo.
no.
Now you said you met your husband during the training. Was he the man looking phase? Or no, I'm just joking with you. Or was
Uh,
it going to after you transition to the perfect phase?
You know what? He was there. We've known each other for over 10 years. So
Oh
he's kind
wow.
of been in my life in and out.
Yeah.
He's seen my journey from like the bodybuilding days to essentially now. So we
Okay.
met at the gym that I used to work at. And he used to actually come in and out and train. And he told me that he always used to like look up to me, like admire me because I was always so like dialed in and focused and I was
Wow.
jacked. I was always like that jacked girl at the gym. Like you could tell obviously I was on juice, but I was, I was working hard. Like I
Yeah.
wasn't, just being like, anything low key. And then our first conversation ever is like he asked me a question about like overall like how like I do my job, like about the training and stuff.
Yeah.
And then some questions about like same thing about PED use and then just working out. And then he tells me that one line he remembers me always saying to him is, for me as a personal trainer, why I work so hard and why I'm always working out between
Yeah.
clients is because my body is my resume. And that stuck to him.
Oh,
He's like, this
I
girl, like
like
she's,
that.
like, okay, she's it. Like she's disciplined, she's on point. So from time he's been there and he's seen the transition between the phases as well.
Yeah.
And then when we finally like connected, like 4 years ago, basically, and started dating, he saw when I was already in the transitioning phase into the whole like functional athlete, right? Like
Okay.
there was a period of my time like right after COVID when I was really focused on like rehabilitation because I had my own injuries.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's a whole nother story of like why I even got into muscle activation because like I was blowing out my shoulder, I blew out my back, and like nobody could really
Holy
help me until
cow.
I discovered, I've injury prone, right?
Wow.
So I was going through a phase after COVID of like I'm gonna rehab all my injuries and get super strong and
Yeah.
functional.
Yeah.
So he met me during that phase where I was like, doing interesting exercises and I was very focused on technique and, he was asking me questions and then he even got treatment from me and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
he was there basically from start of this journey to now finish of this journey. He was along all the
Yeah.
phases and I guess he could, he could speak for himself, but he really does feel like right now, this point in my life is
Yeah.
like, this is it. Like, this is my home. This is the happy place. And he's
That's
very
good.
happy seeing me there. Because before he used to tell me, he's like, you used to be like so big and jacked and muscular. He's like, it kind of made me feel like I have to, like get a little bit bigger beside you because like what's going on here? Like it's just, my girl's getting too big here. I was like, oh shit. I was like, okay, well, good thing we're going the other way now. That
That's
can
right.
be a bit more subtle.
Oh man, Dude, I feel he was probably stalking you this whole time, finding reasons to talk
Yeah.
to you. Oh yeah, I got this muscle. Can you help me with it?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Man. That's good stuff. He knew a good thing before he was that. He knew what was going on. He knew.
For sure. I leave that to him. His scheme and his plot to get to me. I was like,
There
all
you
right,
go.
you had this planned all along. He knew.
He knew what he wanted. He knew it. But so when you working with all your new clients coming on, so when your clients, let's walk through, and I know I'm jumping around for it because I know you're tied up. I
That's
want to get
fine.
everything in before you got to run because I know you have to run.
No worries.
Oh, awesome. Now, when you take a new client, somebody, let's go with athlete who's been doing all the wrong things. Do you have some of those that come to you and say, hey, what do I do? So how do you walk them through that? All right, you're doing everything wrong. Let me fix you so you can get better.
Yeah. So we have a pretty rigorous like intake process. So with our coaching business, we have like a really detailed intake form. And I love to get on calls with clients like either face to face,
Yeah.
like through a Zoom or like over the phone. and I get them to basically give me as much detail as possible about everything they're doing, from like their recovery sleep habits to their
Okay.
social status. Like, how are you in terms of like your interaction, socialization? My husband does the actual like programming for the like the physical fitness stuff.
Yeah.
We get them to give us a full week's or months worth of training, all their previous training history. On the nutrition side of things, I'm like, you
Wow.
need to send me photos of what you're eating every day. Show me pre-workout, post-workout,
Wow.
pre-training, everything. Send me photos. If they have a meal plan, I take a look at it and then I calculate things on my end to see if there's gaps. So we do a lot of pairing of how they feel
Right.
with how they should be operating,
Okay.
put that together in an intake, and then basically provide them with the steps going forward. So usually if
Wow.
somebody comes in and let's say, for example, they're overtraining, not recovering, and underfueling, which is like, I want to say 99% of athletes, they're,
Okay.
balls to the wall in their training,
Yeah.
completely underfueling because they're either,
Yeah.
they either have a fear of gaining weight for their sport or whatever, or they just don't know enough about their fueling strategies.
Yeah.
And then they sleep like 3 hours a day and then they want to party too,
Oh,
for example. Like, we
jeez.
got a lot of those
Yeah.
young people, right? We have to sit down with them and first of all, figure out their why. Why is this important to them that
Okay.
they're doing this? And then number two, essentially give them the rundown and structure of the things that they need to do in order to improve their performance output in either the gym or their sport. And we show them why it's important.
Okay.
Right. And then from that point, we're able to kind of sort of help them out with their structure. And then they usually jump on board and we have weekly check-ins with them. We have daily phone calls with them. So it's a very hands-on process, but essentially they tell us what they're doing. We analyze it. We show them the light at the end of the tunnel, I guess, the things that could fill their gaps, where we find where the gaps are and we apply it to them. And then their job is just to execute, report back to us, and then we make adjustments as needed. Yeah.
Holy cow. So you
Very
guys
like-
literally taking people by their hand and let's walk you through this
Yeah.
process.
Yeah.
Holy cow, man, that's pretty good because most people are lost. There's so many things out there online. Everybody finds workouts, fitness people, all these things out there. But is this how you found to cut through the noise? Because your system seems like that's on point. That's some people want that handheld. Just tell me what to do. Basically, spoon feed me, and I'll go on about my way.
You know what? It's for some people, it's what they need
Yeah.
in the beginning, and
Okay.
then they're very autonomous. But then for some people, it's like that doesn't work, even when you do spoon feed them or give them everything. That's where I think the psychological aspect of getting down to the deeper root cause of why they need this help matters, because if the person can remember their why in terms of why they even started, they're more likely to adhere to what we give them, right?
Okay.
Because sometimes holding the person's hand, it doesn't always guarantee that they're going to follow or give you results.
Makes sense,
Sometimes
yeah.
it's such a tug of war, like you're going to be fighting your client and they're just going to be like, nope, I'm not going to do it, or why am I doing this? Like, it doesn't work for me, I've tried it, type of thing, right?
Yeah.
Whereas sometimes you have to get the whole concept of surrendering, right? You
Yeah.
have to get the client to surrender and trust you, and apply the things that you're giving them in order for, any magic to happen. So we take a little bit of a different approach. It's always individualistic. Some people do need a little bit more handheld approach. Some people are like, no, I got this, sir. Yes, sir. Easy for me to follow. No questions asked, right? So it comes down to kind of getting to know the client, and we kind of get a better vibe of them after a couple months of knowing them. And then we realize where we need to add more or pull back. And it's kind of like almost like a parenting, sometimes you got to see where you got to put the training wheels on, and sometimes you don't, and figure it out. So
Yeah, that's a unique look at everything, and I don't know if everybody else does it that way, but I liked what you're saying. If I was looking for a personal trainer like that, that's what I want. I want someone to hold my hand, spoon feed me, go do the work, and come back and say, look what I've done, fix it, or say it's okay. No brainer thinking about it. That's good stuff, man. Now, when you get different types of people in there, I'm sure you do. Of course you do. You have the unhealthy, let's say the obese, then you have the athletes. Now, which one are the hardest to deal with, in your opinion? You know what I mean? I won't say like you can't stand these people. I mean like hard to help get on track, how to listen to you to get them better at whatever they're trying to do.
You know what? From our experience, I want to say, gosh, I do think the athlete sometimes, the know-it-all athlete, it's a little bit difficult because I do think there's a small component of ego involved because they are already at a level. They are just kind of like looking out for extra help. They don't necessarily maybe always need to be told what to do. So from our experience, there's been a little bit more pushback from people like that. Versus the more obese individual who is like, yo, I just need help. I don't even know what to do. So when they question your logic, it's like, you don't know anything about this at all. This is why you're here for help. So you questioning this logic right now isn't going to necessarily get you results. We just need to execute, right?
Yeah.
Whereas with athletes, because potentially they've had other coaches and other experience, and they're asking a million questions, and sometimes they think they know it all, right?
Yeah.
It can be a little bit more of like, well, why am I doing this? Like, well, what's the point of this? And then you tell them, and then they're kind of like, oh, well, like, wouldn't, XYZ make more? They're more like argumentative in a way.
Yeah.
But on the contrary, there are some athletes that are like I said, sir, yes, sir, like, just give me and I'll execute, right?
Yeah.
But again, from our experience, maybe it's just the roster that we've dealt with.
Yeah.
It's sometimes a little bit more challenging with a well-seasoned athlete who's had many coaches. And again, they've either, had different like expertise or different points of view on their training or their nutrition, but somebody who's a little bit more seasoned and knows a little bit more is sometimes a little bit more difficult with, because they have a little too much knowledge maybe. Right?
Yeah. I know everything, but this is why I'm coming to you, because I know everything. So you teach me, but I know everything.
Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, look at it. Hey, if I'm spending money on something, I want my money's worth. So why argue?
That's what I would think.
Yeah.
Like, you're paying for a service, and you would expect the person to, essentially want the maximum benefit of that service, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. And it just, again, it comes down to, I think, really the individual person and learning your clients. That's a big thing that we're like really honing in on, is like understanding that people are people.
Yeah.
They're not just a number that's coming in to coach with you. They're a human being at the end of the day. And in that human being, there's a soul, and there's trauma, and there's all this other stuff that's, usually beneath the surface, that's speaking when they're speaking to you. So understanding, again, the fundamentals of their why.
Okay.
Why are you doing this? Why do you need to lose this weight? Why do you need to play this sport? Like, what is going on? Once you figure that out with the person, it's usually a lot easier to work with them, because they always remember the day one why they even started this whole thing, right? So
that's cool. You're getting the psyche of. You should be a psychiatrist too.
there we go. Everything all in one.
That's right. Write a book, be a psychiatrist, and lift weight. Do the whole thing.
everything all together. It's
great.
great.
Man, when you guys are doing your class, doing your trainings, do you have do men listen to you very well, or do they have to go with your husband kind of thing? Do you find that that's a woman, she'll different body, she'll know what she's talking about? Do you see some of that?
You know what? From all of our male clients, they're all scared of me. Like, they listen to me. It's so funny. They're like, they get along with my husband great. Like, they're, they listen to him. It's more like a bro relationship. But with me, they're terrified of me, and they listen to me. And I'm like, sometimes when my husband can't get through to them, I have to step in and be like, hey, like, what's going on? And they're like, oh, sorry, yes. I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe it's the Russian. I don't know. Like, they're scared of the Russian lady. I'm like, hey, I'll run with it. That works for me. But sometimes it's easier for me to intervene and do the dictating, because they tend to listen to me sometimes. I don't know. I was always hesitant and scared. I'm like, working with, men and women, I always thought that, like, I'd probably be better with females, and, maybe men would work better with my husband because they'll listen to him. They have like, respect for him, and they do. But I think it's just that authoritative, like, motherly, like, thing they're scared of, because they know there's two of us. They're like, so, like, good cop, bad cop. So it's like, sometimes I got to be the bad cop and come in. And so it works out great. It balances out. Yeah.
Like, here she comes, run.
Yeah. Literally, like, oh no, Coach Dasha is saying something now. That's
what
a problem.
I do wrong?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Do you guys have your own facility, or you guys work at different locations and that kind of thing too, or no?
Yeah, so we're mainly online. We do have a facility that we train out of. It's not our facility, unfortunately, but we just like, sometimes we see some clients in there that are local.
Oh, okay.
But everything is basically online. We work with clients from around the world. We have some clients in the States, right? So everything online, and it's really cool how we figured out to make it work online, right? So we do have our own application. And on that application, we have like all the videos of like us training, like exercise correction, like, cues. Yeah, we try to take the in-person PT experience and virtualize it as much as technology allows it for right now, right? So it's kind of like cool, where we do a lot of, like, again, video review, like, clients send us footage, we see how they're training, we send them feedback just like this.
That's cool.
So yeah, it's very, very hands-on, as hands-on as it can be over the internet, right?
Yeah. And you guys doing this all day long. How do you not get tired? Get like, oh my gosh.
It's like any career, right? It's like anything, like working for yourself. You don't have really office hours. You're just, you're on call with your clients all the time when they need you. And it's just, it's great. It's a very rewarding career, I'd say.
Yeah.
I think that me and him are in the right in terms of, like, a career path doing this, because we genuinely have a heart for people. We care for people. And we both have a story with the gym that, we always wanted to make sure that we wish we had had people like us in our lives
Yes.
back then. So
Yeah.
we're just kind of sort of trying to pay it forward in a way that, you know, can still be fulfilling to our purpose and also help others, right? And of
Yeah.
course make money, because at the end of the day, it's
You need money. Yeah.
society, right? And
Yeah.
can't do much without that. So
That's good. You know, the
Yeah.
biggest thing I think in any business, you know, I've always had my own business throughout my life since I was in college. I always had my own business. So working corporate, I worked corporate for a couple years, but to be on your own, to have a business, you have to have a heart for people. And I tell everyone
Yes.
that, man, if you don't like dealing with people, stick to a job. You're going to hate dealing with people there, but
Yeah,
you know,
yeah. It's you know what? It's like pick your poison, right?
yeah,
And no matter what you do, you will always be dealing with somebody. It just comes down to how much of what you do you love,
yeah.
right? And I think that's a big thing, is having the heart. My husband has this saying that he says, "How you do one thing is how you do everything." So if in
That's
general,
good.
as a person, a human being, you don't have the heart for anything,
Yeah.
you're gonna reflect that in your job, in your career, no
Absolutely.
matter what you do, right? So we take pride in trying to treat our clients the best way possible and have the heart for them as much as we have for each other, for ourselves. Like, try to make everyone feel as welcome and as comfortable as possible, because
Yeah.
at the end of the day, it's like, that's again the experience we want to provide to people that we wish we had when we
Yeah.
were at that point in our journey, right? So
Yeah, I love it, man. I really do.
you.
You guys are working well together, and that's good stuff, man.
Awesome.
Have you had clients that you know, on a different side, have you had clients that you just couldn't help and said, you know what, I don't think our service is for you, kind of thing?
Yeah, we've had to do that to a couple clients, and
Yeah.
again, it's funny enough, it was never a results-driven thing. It was
Yeah.
more so like an interpersonal dynamic where the individual just was not really a good fit.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate, because you try, again, a lot of coaching is a lot of psychological, you know, manipulation and a lot of like getting to know the person, but humans are humans and people are
Yeah.
people, and there's just sometimes people that are not ready for this part of their journey
Yeah.
yet in this point in their life, or they need to go do some deeper soul searching as
Yeah.
to why they're doing this.
Yeah.
And maybe, you know, there's some hard characteristics out there, there's some difficult characters out there, and as patient as we are, sometimes it's like, if we give you something and you just refuse to follow it just because,
Yeah.
and you know, you want to either argue or like start like, you know, doing other things that are completely contraindicating to what we're trying to help you with,
Yeah.
we can't help you, right?
Yeah.
We can only hold your hand so much, but
Yeah.
at the end of the day, over the internet, our hands are tied
Yeah.
to an extent, right?
Yeah.
It's not that we've ever quit on a client, but it's gotten to a point where the client was just like, I'm just not going to do what you tell me. We're like, okay, like, you know, then don't, please, we don't want to take your money then.
Yeah,
What's the
right.
point of us taking your money if you're not going to listen? So
Exactly.
it's just best if, like, you know, we did guide this person to somebody else as well. Like, we helped them. We're like, hey, maybe
Oh.
this person would be a better fit for you. Like, and please keep us posted on how things are going.
That's
Like,
so
we
cool
care,
of you
right?
guys,
It's
man.
just maybe we are not the best fit, and that's okay, right?
Yeah.
But that's usually a very rare thing.
Yeah.
Usually people are like pretty good because they need the help, but
Yeah.
I'm sure every business you're gonna get that once in a while instance where the person is just not compatible, and what are you
yeah.
gonna do? Try to force it? It's better to just, you know, let it go and let it be, and if
Yeah.
it's meant to be, it'll come back. If not, then set it free.
That's
type
right.
thing.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
that's right. Everybody was saying that my one of my mentors, I had an insurance agency for 12 years. One of the companies I had, and he's always said, before he started mentoring me, he says, "Listen, Tony, I'm going to help you. I will guide you every step of the way, but I will not be more excited for your success than you are." So I was like, that just
Facts.
always sat with me. So I'm like, man, I was like,
Yep.
I know what he meant,
Yep.
man. And he died a couple years ago.
Yeah,
It's kind
it's
of sad.
true.
Yeah.
It's true. That hits deep. It's true.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, do you have guys that just can you help somebody who doesn't want to, not negatively, but just, I don't want to change my eating as much. I like to drink. I like to, I like my bourbon. I like my things. Can you help someone get in shape that way without them giving up all the things? You know, I'm not saying eating all the junk food and all that, but just some of the little vices.
You know what? You can, because I think it comes down to balance, right?
Okay.
We've had a lot of clients where we've taken them from that extreme end of like hardcore partying, drinking all the time, to introducing just a simple concept of balancing everything in life,
Okay.
right? If you're going to drink, know the impacts of drinking, and it's not so much about the calories, it's about, look at how it's going to dehydrate you, man.
Yeah.
You're going to suffer in the gym.
Yeah.
So how about we teach you how to properly rehydrate so that you're going to be okay on recovery, and then you can perform in the gym.
Okay.
And it's so crazy because these individuals that come from that extreme end up not wanting to do those things anymore by default. They fall out of love of doing that anymore. And then we've had clients who quit drinking just because they're like, it's not worth it for me anymore, right? So we like to teach the person how to balance the two.
Yeah.
And then they for themselves see that their results are either not as fast as they want because of this thing.
Okay.
And then we kind of present them the option, like, you got to choose. Do you want to pull back a little bit on drinking for a couple months so you lose these extra 10 pounds?
Yeah.
Or do we want to continue teeter-tottering with this up and down a pound or two every week because we want to binge drink on Saturdays?
Oh, yeah.
But just, reality, and expect that your results are not going to be where you want them to be, right?
Gotcha. Yeah.
We'll help you be healthy doing this, but do not expect these miraculous results if you're not willing to give something up.
Yeah.
And we let them sit on that. And
Yeah.
9 times out of 10, I want to say confidently that the person decides that their health and their goals are worth it. And occasionally, like a glass of wine or two isn't
Yeah.
going to kill them. Right?
Yeah,
So
right.
the person learns moderation.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing to see happen, because all we have to do is just present them with the pros and cons,
Yeah.
the balancing approach, and then we let them decide.
Yeah.
And then they come to that choice naturally. So long answer short, yes, we can help somebody like that.
Yeah.
And we have helped somebody like that. Is the results as great as somebody who maybe didn't have these crazy vices? For sure, they're not as good,
Yeah.
but it's possible. 100% it's possible.
Yeah, that's good, man. You guys have all the spectrum. That's pretty good. Yeah. Now, is there out there? Now, this is maybe a crazy one. Not want to continue to drink. If someone goes out, what's a healthy whiskey or bourbon? Is it all vodka from Russia? No.
Not trying not to be biased on this one here,
Right?
but you know what? Anything that's a single ingredient like jam. I'm a big believer of single ingredient things are the easiest
Okay.
for your body to A, metabolize and get rid of, and B, for you to process, like just in general, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna have bourbon, just have bourbon. Don't do like bourbon plus like, a juice or something, or like a Jack and Coke, right?
Yeah.
If you're gonna do a Jack and Coke, do a Diet Coke, right?
Okay.
Don't add extra sugar, because if we look at how, without getting too sciencey, how alcohol is actually metabolized in the body, you're stopping all digestive processes. So you're going to gain a bunch of like water retention and inhibit those calories from being properly metabolized hours later, right? So if we're going to be drinking, let's stick to just pure alcohol sources.
Okay.
Don't mix drinks. If you're going to mix drinks, do the 0-calorie versions.
Gotcha.
You're loading your liver anyways,
Yeah.
so you might as well load it with, aspartame too. It's fine. You're gonna live, right?
Right.
But what the problem is when people start to mix the drinks and do these fruity cocktails and have like the beers and stuff. I'm always a firm believer of the higher percentage of alcohol, the crisper the alcohol, the single ingredient alcohol is always better.
Okay.
Right? If it's just bourbon, have just bourbon. If it's just vodka, stick to vodka. Just tequila. Tequila has a little bit more potential of sugar in it, so I usually just say stick to the cleaner spirits like bourbon. You can do your whiskey, you can do your vodka, you can do your gin, things that are like, obviously single ingredient beverages, and try to, for every shot you take, try to have at least 3 to 4 glasses of water or a packet of electrolyte. Right? Have a packet of electrolyte ready with you. Just replenish those minerals that you're dumping out with that alcoholic beverage, and the repercussions are much less.
Okay.
The calories you're saving for sure, because instead of having like a 300 calorie, glass of wine or something, you're just going to have a 90 calorie shot of vodka.
Okay, yeah.
You're going to feel more buzz from that vodka than you will from that wine. So if your goal is to just get plastered, stick to the heavier stuff and single ingredient stuff. That's it. That's what we're rolling with.
That's good. Man, like I said, you guys know all the spectrum. Just want to get drunk, get some vodka.
That's it. If that's your goal, do it. And just do the clear stuff. You're good.
Go hard or stay home. Oh my God.
That's it.
No,
how you do one thing's how you do everything. There you
that's
go.
right. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Yeah, I'm gonna steal that. I'm gonna try to get all that to fit on a shirt.
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
How do you keep yourself motivated? Because you're helping so many. Because you give to so many other people. I'm sure it drains you. Some of your things you have to do for yourself. How do you take the time for you? And what's new for you? How do you push yourself?
I get what you're saying. Honestly, I think for me, it's as much as motivation matters. I think it's just become such again, the whole cliche of like, when motivation fails, discipline takes over. I think for me, it's just become such a ingrained part of my life that the discipline aspect is all really I have left over, even when motivation's gone. So I personally cannot see my life any other way without fitness, without health, without, being a certain type of like build and look and being able to perform a certain way. That for me, it's almost like a non-negotiable in terms of like making sure I'm training every day, I'm eating healthy. A big intrinsic motivator, of course, is health. Again, going through what I'm going through right now with my health, whether it's, related to like something, hereditary or whatever, whatnot. But my biggest thing is I'm a firm believer, and this is where the naturopathic side of me comes in, is that movement food is medicine.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
if you do not do these things as a core foundation for your overall life, you're doing yourself a very big disservice in terms of preventing disease and health that could happen
Yeah.
years from now, right?
Yeah.
So a motivator for me is my health, and also too just overall I feel good when I work out, and
Yeah.
I know how
Yeah.
bad I feel when I don't work out. So regardless of an end goal or not, whether I have a competition or a race or whatever, I just like feeling good in movement.
Yeah.
So I always just chase that feeling, that really good feeling after a hard workout or after a long run or after like, like a good like session for like a HYROX session or something like that.
Yeah.
I always remember that feeling after, and even preliminarily, if I'm not feeling it quite yet, I'm like, yo, after you're not going to regret it, just do it. So
Yeah.
it's a couple of things that I kind of sort of chase and remind myself on the daily that, like, hey, like, this is your life. Like, you got to
Yeah.
make sure that you do these things every day because you just definitely don't know another way to live. So
Yeah.
pretty much it's the discipline that keeps me going every single day, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good stuff. Now, do you take any time? Do you ever take a vacation? Not vacation. Do you ever take some time? I need some me space. And let me read that. Or like you just said, that's your me space is your gym, your workout, your fitness. That's your me space.
Yeah, essentially, like for me, my me time is mainly like when I run.
Okay.
I find running so therapeutic. Like as much as like people hate running, they're like it's so
Yeah.
treacherous. How do you do it?
Yeah.
I get into this zone where like something just shifts, and it's almost like meditative for me. Like I
Wow.
run. Like when I run, that is my time also to talk to God. Like I
Yeah.
pray when I run. I
Oh,
have like conversations in my head about like things that
that's
about my
good
life. I have
stuff.
questions I ask him. I'm like, like God, like why, why am I going through this? Like, what do you want me to learn from this? Like, how can I become a better, servant of you? All these things I'm thinking in my head as I'm running. And so sometimes I realize
Yeah.
I'm running for such a long time that I'm like, oh, this was my me time and this was my therapy and this was my prayer time. So for me, it's running.
Yeah.
When I get into the state, you just go for me. So yeah,
Yeah, that's
that's definitely one of
good.
my,
I
yeah,
like
definitely.
that. And it seems you have it's have a foundation in faith. And I love that. I absolutely
Yeah.
love that you have a foundation in faith. And I see that. I think people who have that, they have more peace of mind in their life. I really believe that.
100%. I think that's a huge thing. And again, my journey with faith too is a little bit of like a rocky one and a long one.
Yeah.
But this year has really showed me like in a summary is why we need God.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest lesson this year that I've had from like, from my health scares to like just overall life changes to big decisions for life. Like I realize that if God is not at the foundation of everything that I
Yeah.
do and that we do, we literally have nothing. And it's such a
Yeah.
humbling but like releasing and like great experience to feel when you
Yeah.
realize that. It's great. Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah.
That's all I can say about that. It's great.
That's good stuff. I love it. Praise God. That's good stuff, girl. Because I tell you, being a Christian, a believer myself, I always feel that it gives me that peace of mind because I can always take whatever worries and stress and lay it on him and just go on about my day.
Yes.
I'm like, he's got me.
Yes.
He's leading me. So, all right, I'm cool.
Yep.
You know,
He's in control. Yeah.
that's right.
Hands off. Let's go. Let's go on this
That's right.
journey.
Jesus, take the wheel. Not yet. Not yet.
Literally.
Anyway.
Literally. Sometimes it goes a little too crazy. You're like, what did I get myself into? Oh no. Okay.
Oh, Dasha, this has been a blast, girl. I'm glad we finally got to connect 'cause I know you're busy out there. Before we
Yes.
get you out of here and let you go and do what you got to do, tell everybody how they can find you, how they can connect with you, where they can reach you on your social media, phones, everywhere, how they can reach you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am on Instagram. I'm on Instagram as at Coach Dasha Pravda. You can find us online at dynamiccoaching.com. We have our website there for our coaching services. Those are my two main platforms. I basically have on Instagram, and then we have our website for our business. So hit me up in the DMs if you guys have any questions about nutrition, further questions about my journey with anorexia and this whole transition into the hybrid athlete as well. And then coaching inquiries are always welcome through either Instagram or directly on our website.
Awesome. Good stuff, guys. Guys, you heard it from the lady herself, Dasha Terezhenko. I hope I said it right again. Man.
You did it. You're natural. It's second nature.
That's right.
It's great. I
Told you about
love it.
Black Russian. It's all good.
But it works. It works. I love it. I love it. I
There you
love it.
go. But I appreciate you so much taking the time out of your busy schedule doing this for you.
Thank you so
Hope
much.
we can do number 2 down the road when you have more crazy stuff going on and your book. Hint, hint.
Absolutely. You will be the first one to know about that. I'm going to test it to you. I'll be like, you know what? Me and Tony had this conversation. He needs to know I'm writing a book. That's
There
it.
you go. And I'll take it. There we go. You're
Perfect.
awesome, girl. You take care of yourself out there in the big Canada, and we'll talk soon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tony. You take care.
All right. Take care. Bye.
Lines on my face like cracks in the road. Still chasing fire through the years have slowed. Weights on my back, sweat in